G'day and welcome to the Grow a Small Business Podcast. I'm your host, Troy Trewin. Each week, we speak with an owner who has grown a business with 5 to 30 team members to something bigger. Diving into their numbers and unearthing the pain they've experienced, we explore what they did to overcome each barrier differently from day one. Let's get into it. Welcome, everyone. Today I'm interviewing Conrad Ruiz from Well Aware, based in Fort Lauderdale in the United States. Thanks for your time today, Conrad.
Troy, grateful to be here.
Let's start with how we know each other. The awesome Rel West, we had her on episode 636 back in February 2025, and as we were just chatting before we hit record, and her and her husband had an amazing journey with their various businesses, but the one that stood out for me was the airline that eventually got purchased by Alaskan Airways. So yeah, love Rel's journey.
Yeah, grateful. She's amazing.
Tell our audience a bit about your business, what it does and how it makes.
Is a time management firm. We make money by selling our professional time, we being a collective of fractionalized virtual assistants who provide everything from basic assistance to higher, more technical skill sets and associate level responsibilities. Principally, my job is to help assign those virtual assistants to my clients to help my clients better understand how they're introducing virtual assistants into the systems of their business, and where those systems themselves need additional support, I will step in and act as the fractional operating officer for key decisions around how growth and scale are decided.
Yeah, great. Fantastic. Are there any particular industries or geographies you work within?
No, we're terribly agnostic.
Yeah.
We have too much fun watching new businesses and industries come our way and ask us for help, and we just like to say yes to the things that we can support them with. I care more about my business model and the way that it helps people find time than about what specific work we support.
Yep. Fantastic. How did you start out?
I went to school for biomedical engineering. I thought I was going to be a biomedical engineer. I fell in love with business during my undergraduate career and decided that I was going to build a startup that involved my biomedical experiences and my naivete in business. And I couldn't be the engineer and the founder and the guy that paid the bills. That was just shy of impossible. So in the midst of my finishing up my master's in management and trying to kick off my world of startup entrepreneurship straight from the get-go out of college, I went to New York City, took part in a very amazing program that I still reconnect with every day. And there I made my peace with my inabilities to build what I originally thought I was going to do, and instead decided to start asking everybody in my entrepreneurial network and community how they go about making the most of their time and the constraints that they bring with. And after many of those conversations, I made it a commitment to just put up a shingle and freelance, and from a founder to founder standpoint, just be of help. Over time, that, along with many ups and downs and just trying to pursue attempts at small jobs here and there, being employed, those were the first pre-years of Well Aware. And then eventually I just figured out and persisted with a jam of, I'm going to make my world work remotely. I'm going to support enough clients to make this a sustainable business. VAs became a huge function of that during my first year, and I decided to grow with that as my school of hard knocks of working with people to grow and build systems in business. And that's gotten me as far as I am today.
Yeah, great. Fantastic. And so what year did you start the business and how old were you?
We started in officially 2020, and it's only been 6 years, hasn't it? I was 24.
And do you have some numbers you can share to illustrate the growth of the business?
Yeah. In fact, when I was reading this question earlier, I decided to pull up QuickBooks and say, here's the truth. Where else to go ask? Starting in 2020, I can report a $2,500 of income.
Huge.
With net expenses led me to minus 2,500. So I lost the exact amount that I had actually earned. And then over the years, 2021, we made 20,000, 2022, 45, 2023, 140, 2024, 160, last year, 315,000. And within this first quarter, we've generated 130,000.
Wow, that's great.
Um,
Is that top line sales or profit?
Top line income.
Yeah,
I
that's
can give you gross profit and net income
yeah.
if you're interested as well.
No, that's great growth. That's phenomenal. So what you're on track this year, nudging up close to 500,000, you think?
I think we're going to push for 500,000, if not at least 600K.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very hungry for 1 million.
Yeah, fantastic. That's great. And what about number of full-time equivalent team members? You started on your own, and where are you at now?
Yeah, so to answer that question with a little bit more fullness, we have a number of fractionalized talents because of our nature of our business. Many of our virtual assistants, the ones who are core to serving us internally, also serve many of our clients. And so I don't need them to be full time. In fact, I graciously welcome the fact that their time can be split between operating us internally as well aware, but then also serving well aware's clients. I would argue if I can smashed everyone's hours together and brought it in, I would say we are a full-time team of 5.
Yeah.
But
Well,
it's a much larger number that's just more fractionalized based on the different operational departments that everyone oversees and how much of the work that they accomplish with help.
and when was the moment you felt like you had succeeded?
Troy, I don't think I'm there yet.
Mhm.
I'd really like to define success in the context of running my own business as, at least here with respect to the US, its economics and what the standards of living are. I'm not there yet. I'm not at, I'm not bringing in 100,000 plus dollars per year personally. I have my salary. I have income that's in the business. But we're not there yet.
Yep. Does that answer the next question? What success looks like to you? Like mainly financial? Yeah.
To a degree, yeah. I think there's the things that I always find, the thing that I find success in right now is every virtual assistant that we bring on that ends up being of positive alignment with our spirit and culture. The fact that they're employed and that they have a lifestyle that allows them to support our expectations of working together with them as an agency, while they also happen to have clients that they couldn't have otherwise accessed throughout the kind of help that we provide. That to me finds me a lot of joy. And I also find success in every hour that we sell because I'm presuming that those hours are being well spent elsewhere by the client themselves. They're no longer, sometimes I like to call it overly self-employed. In other contexts, I think they're just taking their overly self-employment and putting it somewhere else. And sometimes that's okay for where they are and what they need and how they're grinding. Okay, cool, fine, so be it. But that to me is success today. I just think the scale that I'm looking for it to be at in order to justify my inner ambitions more.
Yep. Yep. Got it. Number one thing you'd recommend to marketing a fast growing business?
Delight your customers. Really show up for them. They are your marketing. Service delivery should be a natural, if you were to draw a triangle of operations of marketing meets sales meets service delivery, the end of the triangle is service delivery comes right back to marketing.
Yep. Totally agree. And how did you fund the business?
Sweat equity.
Yep. Bootstrap.
And yeah, yeah.
So no other investors or lending, borrowing needed?
And mom and dad kept me alive. But other than that, I've had to run this thing myself.
If you were to start up today with plenty of funding, would you go into your industry?
I was reading this question, I was so fascinated by it. I would like to think that now that I don't feel so overly impassioned by what I need to be doing in the world of business, to me, it seems like the most exciting thing to dive into is automation, artificial intelligence. Now, granted, I think it's important to take that as a meta principle of approaching administration, operations, and say, okay, what specific industry would I go into? It's a hard question for me to answer, Troy. I really don't know. I've enjoyed such a breadth of my approach to work, and perhaps I've been ignorant to seeing what specific opportunities to really drill in on. It's really hard to say.
Can you outline the most stressful point in your small business growth journey so our audience can learn from it?
I don't know how to call it a point. There is a chasm you have to cross. there's a whole trough of experience that you have to get through. To be able to tell you about my first 3 years of business and how unfathomably unsustainable they were, that is awful, truly. And to understand what it means to break out of that and to persist through it and to ask yourself if you're doing the right things and if it's worth it, that is the hardest point.
Yep.
It's not a point though.
Yeah. Totally. I agree. A chasm. What area in business do you feel you've had to work on the most to add the greatest value? Want specific advice to help you get your business through its #1 growth challenge? Book a free 20-minute growth chat with me, Troy, the founder of Grow a Small Business. I'll recommend some resources which will help you grow your business with ease so you can live the lifestyle you've signed up for. Go to growasmallbusiness.com and click on Growth Chat.
One more time, the question, please, Troy.
That's right. What area in business do you feel you've had to work on the most to add the greatest value?
Administration is the heart of every business, interstitial muscle. Everything you do, administration defines how smoothly you do it. When it comes to creating executive decisions, passing on those orders to individuals, to the systems themselves, having those systems report back with their results, administration is where I think the greatest value is entertained. How you go about administrating your strategies in marketing, sales, and service delivery, okay, those are all important aspects to understand, but your ultimate execution is going to come down to admin.
Yeah. What have you enjoyed the least about managing fast growth?
I it, I guess you could say, and maybe this is because of my current philosophy around my dissatisfaction with where I'm at, but you can push and push and push and still feel like you're not done. You really have to celebrate and expose wins and recognize milestones, even in fast pace. Yes, tomorrow is a better day. Yes, there's more. And so I think the most unwelcoming part of that experience is getting past your own personal dissatisfaction.
Yeah. What do you love most about growing a small business?
It's yours. The pains, the trials, the tribulations, the joys and sorrows. You own it. I'd be excited if I owned it with someone just as much, given they were the right fit. But I think the ownership aspect and all of its weights and responsibilities, I think it's an incredible journey.
And what has been the biggest mindset shift for you in your small business growth journey?
I alluded it to a little bit earlier, but being in this spirit of I'm here to serve. I have a responsibility to create value. And yeah, I'm creating value for myself. I'm creating value for others. I'm creating value through and with others. I'm looking after a I'm looking after a river channel in which I'm trying to divert and create my own little streams. And I have to see how that value aligns with the overall sustainability of what it is that I'm trying to produce and reproduce and grow. I think it's to that extent, it's so important to not be disheartened if you find yourself pivoting into things that you didn't realize were going to be the value sets that you were going to live off of. You're in a position of a ideally unique awareness where you can see and recognize value that's most needed and least supported. Cool. Don't obsess over anything else than that pure element of what you're supposed to be doing for the sake of others' well-being.
The #1 habit you think a small business owner needs to develop and maintain?
Routine.
Yeah.
And I would say within that routine, healthy self-awareness.
Yeah. Can you talk to how you've added people to the team, some wins, mistakes, and advice for those listening?
Yeah. We now have over 50 virtual assistants amongst our total agency staff, and there are some names and faces I don't get to hang out with at this point. The first few critical folks, man, they really have to sell you on their personality and their alignment, which you may not have written out and figured out. They may just be vibes, if I'm going to use modern day terminology. But also trust everybody and track everybody. What I've learned in my mistakes around that are taking my eye off the ball and placing trust where I should have also had tracking systems available. It's not a big brother experience. It's not a sense of lack of trust. It's accountability. And I think your accountability should be cold-blooded. It should even apply to you.
Yeah. What are some things you recommend to building a sustainable and kick-ass culture to help with the growth?
I go back to the topic of really understanding the business that you created. And I like to imagine that every party that you're working with, every client, and also especially every provider and partner, they are a business themselves. And you are now, to some degree, their cash flow, or you're their solution to a problem and a pain point. Your culture has to be baked around that consideration of everyone's factors and situations and their level of awareness around that aspect of we are all in the startup of ourselves.
And tell our audience how you've handled balance.
It's 10 o'clock p.m. here.
Yeah.
I try, and ironically, I live in a realm where I talk a lot about time management. There is a personal alignment that you have to feel where if you're pressing really hard, is there still joy? Is this hustle finding you well? Are you healthy? There are some fundamentals that are really great to take care of. If you want to work yourself like a horse, for God's sakes, eat well, sleep well, exercise, do at least those critical things. Have some social environment going on with you. Yes, you may sacrifice a lot of it to support business. Get some social interaction within your world of business. Talk to the people that you're talking to beyond just straight up focusing on work. You can recognize the humanity of your time in life. From there, man, wherever your ambition pursues you, just don't let it carry you away. Don't let it exhaust you. Don't feel like exhaustion is a sign of well-being in your pursuit. See it as an inefficiency and try to root it out not by working harder and not even necessarily by working smarter, but actually by living.
And how much professional development have you invested in yourself?
It is a smattering. I can't say I when I read your questions about this earlier, I was really I wouldn't say concerned is the word I had, but I was a little bit anxious about I really wish I had this more locked down in my life, with all due irony. I got plenty of books behind me. Not all of them I read to the fullest extent. I have participated in a variety of different courses, membership organizations, different participations. But I also really just love the School of Hard Knocks. I think a lot of professional development will come within your day-to-day routine and how you approach yourself, how you approach your work, how you approach your service delivery. And I think if you're in operations, if you're in management, if you're in business ownership, a lot of your professional development is going to come through also just building the practice and retrospecting on how that's going. Anything that you seek externally from there hopefully encourages or sharpens that building process.
Have you had mentors or coaches along the way?
Yeah, yeah. Different ones for different things. Sometimes just mentors to meet with on a regular basis to discuss how things are going, almost like therapy, but on a bit more of a professional basis, which I think is incredibly valuable. Coaches for specific distinctions, be that in marketing and sales, be that in finance. If you need help with certain individuals, call upon a fractional advisor, call upon a an officer to work with you for just a few months. They will transform the way you think about things really quickly. And if budget is tight, let those relationships go. Come back to them when you're ready for next.
Yeah, I think it's good to have someone outside your business challenge your thinking and take the ego out of it as well. And do you have a board of directors or advisors?
No. I smile because I recently passed on an inquiry from an organization that seemed to put that in that was like their main pitch. I'm like, go here, $1,000 a quarter, get a board of advisors kind of community style thing. I was like, yeah, that could have made sense. Yeah. Yeah. On my wish list.
Oh, there we go. There we go. Yeah, I've written a couple of LinkedIn articles on how to put a board together, so I'll send those through to you.
Grateful. Thank
Mm.
you. Looking forward to it.
All right, Conrad, on to our final five questions. What do you think is the hardest thing in growing a small business?
Your need to persist on a daily basis and not really be clear about what that entails, whether that's going to work out. It's a lot of ambiguity you have to go through, and you have to find a lot of people will say finding comfort within discomfort. I think that's one way to describe it, but yeah, it's discomfort. It's a daily experience, and I hope to find an experience in that discomfort where my discomfort doesn't directly feel like it's around survivability and more about thrivability, if that's a word I could apply.
Yep.
But that transition process is the hardest, I think, is finding yourself stepping out of survival concerns and ambiguity into, something's working now. I need to make sure it thrives. I like that anxiety a lot more.
Favorite business book which has helped you the most?
4,000 Weeks Time Management for Mortals is not a business book,
Haven't heard of that one.
but it should be treated as such.
Yeah. Any great podcasts or online learning tools you use for your own professional development?
These days, I'm very podcast averse. I think I just don't welcome the time, but I should. I'll take recommendations at this point right now, but I will also, I think on learning tools, I'm there there will be a time where I think as you go about your general business development and networking, see if you come across any individuals who you meet with or that you find who are producing really good newsletter or blog content. Just skim it. You never know what you might find. A lot of people avoid that thinking it's not going to be fruitful for their time. Just to throw an example out there that I could appreciate now, Lavender.ai, for all it's worth, as a tool for helping people do cold email outreach, they have really great blog content on how to write cold email, right? How to just write that copy. You could eat that in a couple of minutes and be a much better cold email copywriter than most folks.
That's a good point. On the podcast, would it make sense for you to be consuming podcasts around the AI space to help your team leverage that more?
Yeah, and just in context, for example, I went to a workshop last week on OpenClaw and
Yep.
just tried to get a better understanding of what the hype was about in terms of turning agentic AI and giving it a degree of access to your world of files and folders. And I thought that was okay. I could see a lot of applications where my team is otherwise spending a lot of manual time and effort supporting those things. If I put the right controls on it, their work and our results could transform.
Yep. One tool you'd recommend to help grow a small business?
I'm going to say a virtual assistant.
Yep.
Without trying to be too biased, help is really helpful. It's always nice to have it's nice to have things that enhance the thing that you're trying to do with your two hands, but it's also just as amazing to have another pair of two hands just with you,
Yep.
just accomplishing things with you. There's so many different ways that that could apply.
Yeah, I totally agree. Got a team of 4 offshore assistants at the moment. Not all, they're all part-time, but all,
It could be an in-person. It
yeah,
could be maybe not a co-founder, but someone who's helping you out. I just think I use the word virtual assistant because it's the first thing that comes to mind in terms of getting access to another human being who's there to help you. And virtually meaning because you've expanded your sense of whom your neighbor is to however far off in the planet you can go, and by that logic, approach someone whom, from a capital standpoint, is very eager to work with you for very little compared to what you can potentially earn on your own. That accessibility, I think, is unreal. To that end, it's about getting to that extra pair of hands quickly.
yeah. Finally, my favorite question. What would you tell yourself on day one of starting out 6 years ago?
You're an idiot. But it's okay. There's so much you're going to figure out. And I really love my dad is 99 years old right now. He's been a tremendous part of my personal growth. And I always like to refer to his number one phrase, which I've learned since day one, which is just take your time.
Yeah. Great. Thanks so much for your time today, Conrad. Really enjoyed our chat. You studied biomechanics at uni, but decided entrepreneurship was for you. In 2020, started a business with VA and fractional COO services to help business owners unlock more time. The first 3 years were a real struggle with low sales and profits, but pushed on through, starting on your own. Now a team of 5 full-time equivalents, on track to crack $500,000 in sales this year, wanting to get to $1 million. Congratulations to you and the team on the growth.
Troy, grateful again to be here. Thank you.